Okay, so when you look at Tria Crypto, it's easy to just lump it in with all the other coins out there. I mean, the market is packed, right? But what if I told you most people have no idea what's actually happening behind the scenes? See, today we're not just looking at another token. We're going to try and solve a puzzle about what really makes this thing tick.
And that puzzle, well, it kicks off with a pretty big mystery. Tria's price, it just doesn't always play by the same rules as other cryptocurrencies. There's something else at work here, almost like a hidden engine humming away that drives its value. And honestly, if you don't get what that engine is, you're probably missing the entire story.
And this chart, it shows you exactly what I'm talking about. Look, you've got Bitcoin and Ethereum just kind of moving along, doing their thing with the rest of the market. But then, look at Tria over on the left. You see those wild, sudden spikes? That is not normal behavior. It really feels like something else is pulling the strings. So what in the world is causing these jolts?
All right, to figure that out, we've got to start with how Tria presents itself to the world. Their big pitch is that it's not just another coin you buy and hope it goes up. No, they've designed it to be this whole complete financial ecosystem.
So this ecosystem, it basically breaks down into three main pieces. First, you've got the Tria coin itself. That's the actual asset. Then you've got the Tria app, which is supposed to be your wallet and your trading platform all in one. And finally, you have the Tria card, which is meant to connect all that crypto to your real-world spending. The idea is that they all work together seamlessly for payments, funding, and this is the key part, for trading.
And that brings us right to the heart of the matter. We're talking about that hidden engine, the thing that's powering those really strange price movements we saw a minute ago. This is where Tria's big secret is really hiding.
The whole concept is called triangular arbitrage. Now, that sounds complicated, but in simple terms, it's just a trading strategy. It's all about finding these tiny, temporary price differences between three different assets. The goal is to quickly trade from one to the next, and then back to where you started, but you end up with a little more money than you began with. It's like a blink and you'll miss it kind of profit.
Okay, let me give you a super simple analogy to show you how this works in the real world. Imagine you start with a bunch of US dollars. You use them to buy euros. Then, like instantly, you trade those euros for Japanese yen, and finally, you trade that yen right back into US dollars. Now, if the exchange rates are off by just a tiny fraction, you could end up with slightly more cash than you started with. And this all happens in a matter of seconds.
Okay, so now let's apply that same idea to the crypto world. The Tria app claims it can do this whole process automatically. So as you can see here, it might start with a stablecoin, trade that for Bitcoin, then immediately flip that Bitcoin for Ethereum, and then sell the Ethereum right back for the stablecoin. If there's even a tiny little pricing mistake in the market, it can skim off a small profit. Now imagine the app doing that thousands of times a minute. That creates huge buying and selling pressure, which, you guessed it, helps explain those crazy price spikes we saw.
So that's the theory, right? And it's a pretty powerful one. It sounds great on paper, but with pretty much any crypto project, there's often this giant gap between the blueprint and what's actually happening in the real world. So let's try to separate the hype from the reality here.
And trust me, if you spend 5 minutes online, you'll see a ton of this stuff. Social media, forums, they're just buzzing with all this speculative excitement. You know the drill. And that kind of buzz, it can create its own momentum, right? It drives interest, and for a little while anyway, it can drive up the price. But when you actually contrast all that hype with what's really going on, a very different picture starts to form. Yeah, on one side, you've got all the Reddit buzz and people hunting for promo codes for the Tria card. But on the other side, you've got some pretty serious fundamental challenges. Things like low liquidity, which basically means it's hard to buy or sell a lot of it without messing up the price, and just some massive hurdles to getting people to actually use it in the real world. And it's right there, in that gap between all the excitement and the practical problems, that you start to uncover some really critical risks. And if you're even thinking about Tria, you absolutely need to understand these. Okay, so first up, a system like this, one built on arbitrage where there isn't a lot of trading volume, it can be a target for market manipulation. That's a big one. Second, as we've already seen, it's incredibly volatile. Third, this entire strategy, it lives or dies on the platform being super reliable, super fast, and not charging crazy fees. If any one of those things fails, the whole model just falls apart. And last but not least, without people actually using the app and the card in the real world, what is it? It's just another purely speculative token.
Which, of course, leaves us with the million-dollar question, doesn't it? Tria's arbitrage engine, it's a genuinely fascinating idea. I mean, in theory, it could completely change how people trade.
but it is just weighed down by some pretty massive risks and real-world hurdles. So the big question is that hidden engine powerful enough to make Tria the next big thing? Or is it just another cool idea that's destined to end up as one more failed altcoin? Honestly, that's the puzzle every investor is trying to solve.